Welcome to City of Glasgow College. Today we are going to be celebrating Glasgow and its 850th anniversary of being the vibrant city that it is. I'm your host Jessica, and today's episode is packed with an inspiring lineup of guests who live, work and breathe Glasgow's culture. Joining us are Peter McKenna, a celebrated chef and owner of the renowned restaurant The Gannet, and Susan Aitken, leader of Glasgow City Council and councillor for the Langside ward. Together, we'll dive into what makes Glasgow such a unique and thriving community. But first, we have a short video from our HNC students for us to enjoy.
Welcome to Glasgow, a vibrant community where cultures collide. A canvas of colours and flavours.
Experience a palette of flavors, from local favourites to international delights.
Immerse yourself in the rich culture that shapes our community.
And is reflected throughout the buildings.
Glasgow celebrates you. So come and celebrate with us.
Glasgow is known for its incredible food, from traditional favourites to trendy new spots. Whether you're grabbing a pint in your local pub or sitting down for some classic Scottish food, there's so much to love about the city's culinary landscape. So, let's welcome popular chef Peter McKenna and get his insight into the food scene in Glasgow. Hi Peter, it's lovely to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me here. Pleasure to meet you.
Of course. How are you doing today?
Good, grand.
Fantastic, I'm very glad to hear that. So, the Gannet and El Perro Negro are both celebrated restaurants with very different dining experiences. Could you just explain a bit about them both, first of all?
Well, first of all, both restaurants are based around quality ingredients. Whether it's a burger that's nice and quick and easy to grab, or it's a sit-down fine dining meal at the Gannet, we take pride in both experiences. We use fantastic suppliers. We went the length and breadth of Scotland to find the best producers, to find the fishermen and the artisan producers and the foragers that bring the ingredients to us on a daily basis. It's very important to us to sing about the fantastic ingredients the larder in Scotland has.
Yeah, what was the inspiration behind that, behind the whole atmosphere and the menu options and the unique ingredients?
When I first came to Glasgow, I worked for another chef. I was a sous chef. And yeah, we embraced a lot of the Scottish larder, but we never really embraced the game season or the mushroom season as much as I would have liked. And I didn't see other restaurants doing it, so I thought there was a gap in the market. Myself and my business partner put our money where our mouths were. We did. We put everything we had into it. And luckily for us, the Finnieston neighbourhood became a mecca for foodies within a couple of years of opening.
Well, as you'll know, Glasgow's dining scene has gained a lot of attention in recent years, and there's so many options out there. What sets Glasgow's food culture apart from the many other cities in Scotland?
I think it's to do with Glasgow being such a multicultural city. You've got, brilliant Pakistani food, you've got brilliant Szechuan food, you've got all these different regional delights in every corner of the city. I think that's what really makes Glasgow unique. It's Italian heritage. You've got the likes of Eusebes and Sardi's, and these guys have been doing brilliant things for, some of them 60 years, And for us, we're kind of the new kids on the block. We're 11 years in Finnieston, but we're doing our own thing. And up around us, there's brilliant people like Graham Cheevers, and you got the Finnieston, and you got Nico, all this exciting stuff. It's a real juxtapuzzle of different cuisines, different styles.
And do you think how eager the people of Glasgow are to, dive into these different diets? Do you think that helps with how important the culinary scene is in Glasgow?
Yeah, well, without the customers, there is no scene. So they are very, very important. They're paramount to the dining scene here. So Scotland as a whole has this brilliant larder, and I think everybody, you know, all the different ethnic restaurants I speak about, they're all buying the ingredients of Scotland and they're putting their own spin on their classic cuisine, wherever it may come from.
Yeah, definitely. So you touched on the ingredients that you use at both restaurants there. How do you incorporate these authentic Scottish elements into the meals? And again, why do you think it's so important?
Well, my menu kind of writes itself. Obviously, I've been a chef for 30 years, so I've picked up experiences from my travels. I've lived all around the world. So I've different techniques that I like to use. But when I say the menu writes itself, it's the ingredients. It's a very seasonal restaurant. So within seasons, you have micro seasons. So you might have a game bird that's in season for a couple of months, but you'll have a mushroom that's in season for a couple of weeks, you know, and plants, the different life cycle of the plants. So you've got the buds, and then you've got the flowers, and then you've got the seed. We use all of that. All of that is a part of our repertoire. And I think it's a very important part of the identity of the Gannet and what we do.
Yeah, and yeah, do you think that's, you know, what really makes it stand out then?
I do, but you know, I'm biased.
And just quickly, do you have any memories or stories that show what Glasgow means to you?
Yeah, well, Glasgow means a lot to me. I've been living here for 16 years. My daughter was born here. You know, my wife went to university here. So it's very special to us. I've lived in the South Side. I've lived in the West End. You know, I set up my first business here, second business. And I've really been embraced by the city. You know, for me, I go back to Ireland. I like to see my family and my friends. But I feel like I'm coming home when I'm coming back into Glasgow, and that's very special.
And so you do see Glasgow as home?
Glasgow is home. It's my family live here, my wife, my daughter. Yeah, this is my home.
Fantastic. Great. Thank you so much for that insight, Peter. That was phenomenal.
Thank you so much for having me.
Perfect. Next, we have another video showcasing Glasgow, and it's something that you'll want to see.
This year, Glasgow City is turning 850 years old, a vibrant city full of heart and soul that is welcoming to all. Here, no matter where you are, there will always be a place to eat, drink and have a great time. From the east side of the city to the west side. The ranges of food are limitless, as food from every culture can be found all around Glasgow. There will be something for everybody. So come over to the city of Glasgow, enjoy some good food while celebrating Glasgow 850. People make Glasgow.
As we approach Glasgow's 850th anniversary, it's a great time to reflect on how this city has evolved, from its historic roots to its modern-day commitment to sustainability and innovation. We're delighted to have leader of Glasgow City Council, Susan Aitken, here with us today to share her insights on the city's journey and future vision. Hi Susan, how are you?
I'm well, thanks.
Fantastic.
How are you?
Yes, I'm brilliant. It's great to have you here today. Thank you for taking the time.
It's a pleasure.
So first of all, let's just dive into sustainability and climate change. How is Glasgow addressing environmental sustainability and climate change?
So I think it's fair to say that Glasgow is now recognised as one of the world's leading city voices in this space. I've actually just returned from the U20 Climate Summit in Rio, which is a cities summit. The U is for urban, where some of the world's leading cities came together to influence the G20, which was hosted by Brazil this year. Glasgow is very much up there at the top table with cities like Paris, for example. And our particular experience that we bring is how you decarbonise a post-industrial city, a city like Glasgow that went through a pretty brutal period in the second half of the 20th century where we lost all of our heavy industry that had built Glasgow's wealth, but which was also very, very high carbon, of course. Glasgow was a centre of the first industrial revolution, which has really led us to where we are now in terms of the crisis that the planet and the climate are in. Glasgow's economy is doing really well, actually, and it is being led by innovation. This amazing college building, the City of Glasgow College, sits right in our city centre, Glasgow City Innovation District. So education and innovation really are at the fundamental bedrock of how we continue to build and grow the city's future and how Glasgow and Glasgow's people thrive in the future.
Definitely. And just looking to the future, when you think Glasgow in, say, 10 years' time, what do you see?
In 10 years' time?
Well, just what
I want to see is a city that has reached net zero, that we have decarbonised, but we've done so by taking action that has improved people's lives and improved the places that they live in.
So let's talk about Glasgow 850. Could you explain some of the events that are planned for the city's 850th anniversary?
So the plan is to essentially have a year of events of all sorts of shapes and sizes, but particularly have them rooted in communities and to celebrate Glasgow's communities. The 850th anniversary is a real opportunity to have to use all of our experience at putting on great events in the city, but to do it for ourselves. So a lot of the things that we've done that we're associated with are a lot of them are for visitors coming to the city. We're hosting them for other people, whether that's COP26 or the World Cycling Championships last year, or indeed the Commonwealth Games in 2026. But Glasgow 850 is for us. It's for all of us. It's for the city. And so we've got a whole number of events planned. The Clyde Chorus is going to be doing a big mass singing event. There's loads coming, but the most important thing is that we actually want communities to generate their own events, really. So there'll be things happening in every single part of the city. It's not just going to be the city centre. Every single ward and neighbourhood in the city will have something happening in it.
You mentioned there, Glasgow obviously has a rich history. How exactly is the city transformed, and throughout its life?
I mean, in so many ways, even within my lifetime, and I'm just old enough I can't quite remember the 800th anniversary, but I was alive for the 800th anniversary. Even within the last 50 years, Glasgow has absolutely transformed. There are parts of the city where not that long ago, the quality of housing, for example, was actually among the worst in Europe. Now it's among the best. We're starting to turn around the car domination of the city centre, make it more people-friendly. Glasgow, 50 years ago, if you talked about Glasgow as a centre of culture, as one of the world's great event cities, people would probably have laughed at you.
And Glasgow's a very diverse city, so if we can just focus on inclusivity for a second, how will Glasgow 850 be inclusive?
I mean, that's an incredibly important point. 50 years ago, Glasgow was not a particularly diverse city. Now we really are. And when we talk about Scotland being a diverse country, really it's Glasgow. There are other parts of Scotland obviously have diverse communities living within them, but Glasgow is what makes Scotland really diverse. And so I think 850 absolutely needs to be inclusive. It needs to make sure that every community that's present in Glasgow, whether they've always been here, whether they've been here for a long time. And we know that Glasgow was a city built on migration. Migration from the Highlands and Islands, for example, from Ireland hugely, then later from Pakistan, from China and Hong Kong, and more recently in the past 20 years, asylum seekers have come to Glasgow from countries all over the world. And it's really that us being a city of sanctuary for asylum seekers and refugees that has been particularly transformative, but then has also attracted people from other countries because they look at Glasgow and see Glasgow as a city where people from diverse backgrounds can be welcomed and can have the opportunity to thrive. So I think it's incredibly important that we perhaps address some of the things in our history that aren't so good, our history around slavery and empire, for example, which is something we've been doing a lot of work on. I think that people from diverse backgrounds deserve to see and understand that that is being addressed, and that it's not something that we're just brushing under the carpet or saying, oh, it happened a long time ago, it doesn't matter anymore, because it does. It still has a legacy and a resonance today. But we also want to celebrate this modern Glasgow. We pride ourselves on being a welcoming and friendly city.
And kind of on that, in regards to Glasgow's reputation, how do you think that 850 can enhance the reputation of Glasgow?
Well, I hope that it will help Glaswegians see their city in a fresh light. You know, folk have gone through a really difficult time recently. These have been some of the toughest times that anyone can remember. And it's not just Glasgow, of course. That's, you know, the whole of the world to a greater or lesser degree has been dealing with these challenges. But my focus is Glasgow. We've had the COVID pandemic. We've had a cost of living crisis coming hot on the heels of that. We've had Brexit, which has caused enormous damage to our economy and our communities. We've had spiralling inflation again going up. We're hearing, and people's fuel bills going up. People are understandably feeling perhaps pessimistic and finding it difficult to see much optimism in the world just now, especially when we look around and see, you know, there's wars happening in Europe and in the Middle East, really horrendous images of genocide taking place in our television screens every night. I hope that the 850 festival throughout the entire year, a festival of Glasgow, will give folk maybe an opportunity to find some optimism, to find the good things in their city and connect with them and make them part of their lives, and perhaps find something in their community that helps them to find something in their life that gives them something to look forward to and something to be optimistic about.
And just following on from that then, what legacy do you hope that Glasgow 850 can have?
I hope it's got a legacy of people appreciating Glasgow all over again. Perhaps the things that we take for granted about the city, seeing them as actually being quite special, and perhaps that we do have a collective sense of a city of how we work together to build on the good stuff, try and overcome the barriers of the difficult stuff, some of which, as I say, has just hit us in the past few years, but some of which we've been living with for a very, very long time. But that we get that sense of Team Glasgow, with everybody being part of that and moving forward together.
And just on it from a personal level, what is your story of Glasgow? What, you know, brilliant memories do you have from Glasgow?
Well, for me, Glasgow's home. You know, I've lived here for the vast majority of my life. I didn't actually grow up in Glasgow because my Glaswegian parents moved, as a lot of folk did in that era. People were moving out to areas that might be thought we would understand as being greater Glasgow now. But I spent a huge amount of my childhood in Glasgow, and I moved here myself when I was 17, and I've been here, and I've lived my life here. I don't want to live anywhere else. Some of my memories are not fit for public consumption, and I am not going to share some of the stories from my student years with you. More recently, the past 7 years of being leader of the city has been the greatest privilege of my life, because it allows me to be part of the life of the city in a way that is, it has really opened up for me, opened my eyes and my mind to the incredible richness that we've got in this city, and made me appreciate it all over again. It's just an amazing place, and there's nowhere else in the world quite like it.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Susan.
You're very welcome. It's been a pleasure.